Hello and welcome to this short video on Chapter 1, Section 3, Cohesion. Cohesion. What is cohesion? Well, cohesion means that your paragraph is easy to read and understand because your supporting sentences are in some kind of logical order and your ideas are connected by the use of appropriate transition signals. Each sentence must flow logically and smoothly into the next one. Now, we can achieve this in two ways. One way is by repetition of key nouns and the use of pronouns. So let's have a look at this example. Let me read it to you. Australians think that they are a sporting and robust people. They have devoted themselves to sports of every description. But what have they done to promote the art of thinking? Certainly, they make no room for thought in their daily lives. Suppose a man were to announce to his friends that he was not going to a football match today because he needed some time to himself, some time to think. Such a man would be shunned by his neighbours. His family would be ashamed of him. What if a teenager were to say that he was not going to cricket training today because he needed some time to think? His parents would immediately start looking in the yellow pages for a psychiatrist. Australians are all too much like Julius Caesar. They fear and distrust people who think too much. They believe that almost anything is more important than thinking. And now if you look closely, you'll see that we have achieved cohesiveness or cohesion in this paragraph by the repetition of key nouns. Here, 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 and here. Well, let's look at further examples of repetition by key nouns and the use of pronouns. In this paragraph, I'll read to you again. Consistent with the results of other studies, most sports tourists tend to be between the ages of 18 and 44, male and relatively affluent. Again, as with the first sample, a notable group of men and women in their late adulthood choose to be active sports tourists. This information can be readily demonstrated by the winter month use of golf courses in the southeastern United States by snowbirds. For recreation agencies in these areas, winter month use by retirees is of prime importance. For leisure education practitioners, such activity patterns not only dispel stereotypes attributed to older adults, but also support the idea of teaching sports skills that can be practiced throughout a person's life. The majority of active sport tourist research has focused on people who participate in one specific sport. And here again you can see that by the repetition of key nouns, here, 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 here and here, that we've been able to achieve cohesion. Alright, one more example of repetition of key nouns to achieve cohesion. Let me read the paragraph to you. Concrete-filled steel tubes are primarily utilized as columns in modern high-rise building construction. The steel tubes that encase the concrete core within are usually thin and therefore have very high width to thickness ratios, making the tubes susceptible to local buckling. When the tubes are filled with concrete, the presence of the concrete core restraint ensures that the buckles will be delayed and can only form outwards from the core. The result of this is an enhancement in the local buckling capacity of the steel tube. And here our cohesion has been achieved by the repetition of these key nouns. Here, 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 and here, and here, and finally just here. Okay, now the second way that you can achieve cohesion is by using transition signals. And here's a sample text where transition signals are used to achieve cohesion. During the early 20th century, Australian society experienced a transformation of the domestic ideal. At this time, families were subject to an increasing array of government and professional programs and advice aiming to manage and regulate family life. Some of these programs were designed to counter social changes. Others were designed to engineer them. Ultimately, each heralded a growing expert encroachment into the private sphere. Intervention and influence took three forms. Firstly, techniques designed to maximize efficiency were introduced into the home and scientific principles were applied to its design. In addition, housework and parenting methods were scrutinized and subject to unprecedented standards. Secondly, all aspects of reproduction attracted increasing intervention from government and the medical profession. Thirdly, state, professional and philanthropic groups began to usurp the parental role within the family through instruction and policy. Consequently, the development of modern social ideals brought regulation, intervention and ever-increasing unrealistic standards. Now here it's clear to see where the transition signals are. There's some in green, there's blue, there are our yellow ones, our orange ones and our purple ones. And each transition signal is doing a different job. It's either indicating a specific time, indicating a conclusion, indicating sequence and logically divided a division of an idea, indicating extra information, or indicating a result. Okay, perhaps we can look at another example where transition signals are used to achieve cohesion. People spend many of their waking hours in their personal living and working environments, and they often decorate these places. People choose colours, patterns, motifs and decor that fit their own personal taste and aesthetic. To make these spaces their own, individuals may adorn them with self-directed identity claims, symbolic statements made by occupants for their own benefit, intended to reinforce their self-views. Many of these statements can make use of widely understood cultural symbols. For example, a poster of Martin Luther King, university memorabilia, etc. Whereas other artifacts may have a more personal meaning. For example, a pebble collected from a favourite beach. These latter objects can, nonetheless, convey a private message to an observer, even if the exact meaning of such a private artifact is obscure. For example, the pebble could signify that the occupant is sentimental or values nature. We can look at this more carefully and in greater detail now. On the left-hand side, we have an explanation of what the authors are doing on the right-hand side. Okay, now we can see that this is what the authors have attempted to do. Firstly, they state their principal idea in the first sentence. Then in the second sentence they elaborate on that idea. The third sentence is an elaboration, but it also introduces greater specificity about the principal idea. In other words, they've narrowed it. The fourth sentence, the authors provide further elaboration and add a little more specificity to the issue on which they're elaborating. And the final sentence of the paragraph draws together the ideas expressed in the paragraph and provides a transitional conclusion. Actually, here I suggest that you pause the video for a while and have a closer look. Another example, we have two paragraphs here. It's paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. Which of the two paragraphs do you think is easier to follow? Well, I think if you pause your video, you'll notice that it's paragraph 2. So the second paragraph is more coherent. Now, can you see the transition signals in the paragraph 2? Pause the video now to have a look, and then we'll move on to the next slide to see what the actual transition signals are. Okay, well, here's the paragraph 2 again, the original, and here we have the transition signals identified for you with ticks. Once again, I suggest that here you perhaps pause the video so that you can look at it in your own time.